Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Faerie Conclave. I'm your host, Alec. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm super excited to be joined by an extra special guest. It's Amy. How are you doing today, Amy?
Hi, I'm Amy the Amazonian, and I'm doing great because I get to talk about a deck that I built that I like.
Yes, and like, what better thing is there to do as a Magic player than that? Am I right?
I mean, playing Magic is pretty good.
Oh, that's true. Okay, below
it's
playing.
Not like the bet. Sometimes you don't actually want to play Magic, but you know, I could go for playing some Magic on occasion.
That's true. And you have been playing a lot of Magic lately. For those who are listening to this later, you won't be able to tell the difference, but we're actually recording this while Amy is live on Twitch. And your current stream...
Not only am I live on Twitch, I've been live on Twitch for over a week.
Yeah. And that's like unfathomable to me. Absolutely incredible. And will you please tell everyone like what it is we're celebrating? Like, why have you been on Twitch for a week?
So I'm celebrating my partnership on Twitch. I have been partnered on Twitch now for 7 years, which is also my 6 years as a full-time streamer anniversary. So I had like quit my job at around the same time, a year after I'd become partnered, and have been rolling on as a full-time content creator pretty much ever since.
That's amazing. Yeah, like seriously, congratulations on that. That's
Thank
amazing.
you. I love getting to play Magic, and it's amazing I get to do it full time.
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, it's because you're so good at it, and like related to that, I love your Brawl Stars series, which you...
I'm a very prolific Brawl deck builder.
Yes. Yeah, and as somebody who loves the like vibes of Commander and also loves to play Magic Arena, Brawl is like the closest thing combining those two. So yeah, I'm also a huge fan of Brawl, and I love to steal your deck lists from those videos.
Oh, thank you. I have over 500 of them.
Wow.
So at this point, I would definitely say that each day I probably run into a deck I built at least once, which is fun because like you can tell. And I don't just mean like, oh, it's a commander who I built a deck for. No, it's like, oh no, this is my deck. I know because there's something weird in here that was in the published deck. And maybe I even took it out later, but it was there at some point.
That's so fun. You're like, that's definitely an Amy artifact that person is playing.
That's my mistake that I'm playing against right there.
It's so good. I love that so much. I also wanted to shout out your podcast that you have with Tappy and Princess. I've also been enjoying quite a bit. Open Tabs.
Oh, yes. Open Tabs. If you want to listen to three adult women drink and talk about fan fiction, Open Tabs is for you. Heads up, it is extremely not safe for work. It is for adults only. If you are a child or a young person or even just sensitive to topics of especially sex and sexuality, do not listen to the podcast, please.
But also, it's so much fun. And I was thinking about this. It's kind of come full circle. I've actually had Tappy on an episode of the show for a deck interview before. She was on episode 86, which I recorded in 2022. And then
years ago.
I know. And Princess was one of the first people I ever interviewed in episode 38.
Have the whole cast.
Yeah, and that was in 2021. Dang. So we've got now with this one, we've got the whole Open Tabs cast.
Wow.
Amazing. I love it. Okay. Yeah. So I am hyped to get into this deck. We're talking about a Brawl deck today, which is very fitting. Before I get too much further, is there anything else you would like to shout out, Amy, as far as like upcoming events that you have or anything else like that?
I'll be at MagicCon Atlanta on Saturday. I will be on stage as part of Actually. If you want to watch me be silly at trivia with, I believe, Alias V, Brian David Gilbert, and if you're not away, come watch it. And I think Mark Rosewater is somehow involved too. I don't know. I'm just going to show up and do what they tell me to do.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, everyone else show up and witness whatever Amy's about to do.
It's something special, probably. It's going to be trivia.
I love that. Okay, that's very exciting. Sweet. Okay, let's do it. Let's get into this deck interview. So, Amy,
like a brief intro to the format for the people who don't know what Brawl is.
Yes, actually, that's a fantastic idea. Yeah, please go ahead.
So Brawl is kind of like 1v1 Commander, but it's on Arena. Rules are a little bit different. It's not quite dual commander. There's a different pool of cards. You could have a planeswalker as your commander. There's no commander damage, and you start the game with 25 life. And it also is the only format that has certain digital-only cards. The deck I'm playing is actually full of them because it has a theme that is very much enhanced by being digital only. And you'll see that very quickly when we start talking about the deck.
Amazing. Okay. One thing I always forget about Brawl is that you can have planeswalkers as commanders. And I know that's
like... a planeswalker as commander.
Yes, that's perfect. Yeah, that's exciting. And that's kind of like a gap I feel like a lot of people want in commander. So it's a great way to get...
They don't. They think they do. They don't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can definitely argue it either way. Sweet. Yeah, my first question for you is, what deck are we going to be talking about today, and like who's the commander for it, and what inspired you to build it in the first place?
So this is Petty Theft. This is my Nicol Bolas God-Pharaoh commander. But something very important about Nicol Bolas is that this is a 7-mana planeswalker that has only 2 abilities. He has a +2 that exiles from the top of your opponent's library until it hits a spell, and I can cast that spell for free until end of turn, and a -4 that deals 7 damage to any target. Technically, there's also a +1 on the card, but that's only if my opponent has hexproof, so I can't +2, and there is no -12 on the card. You can just pretend that this card has been completely eroded for the purposes of this format. Has it actually been changed? No, it's just a moral disagreement of people who use the deck otherwise, because this is not truly a control deck. It's a crime deck with the focus on playing as many of my opponent's cards as I can. And why I started building this deck is because I wanted to do crime. There weren't that many early crime commanders in this format. This is a strong one. It is repeatable. It's difficult to remove, especially as we didn't have a lot of planeswalker removal. And also, my love of crime started with my hate of crime. I played a ton of Ravnica Allegiance Standard, and the Hostage Taker from Ixalan was prevalent in that format in the Esper decks, and I had my stuff stolen so many times. I was playing Tristanis to try to get my stuff back. We don't have Homeward Path. I'm doing everything I can until I just relented, and now I am the one who does the crime.
That's amazing. So were like getting attacked by so many crime decks in the past that you've come full circle to embracing the crime for your own?
Yes, now I am the criminal. I'm the one who is doing the crime.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of that. I also, slight side note, but you played a crime deck on an episode of Shuffle Up and Play. Is that right?
I've played a couple different ones. So I have a bunch of crime decks in paper. The one that I've played the most on shows is my Xanathar Guild Kingpin deck, which I actually have like next to me here because it was the backup if we didn't want to talk about a Brawl deck. And it is not that similar to this, but a lot of that's just because the card availability is different. Playing for 4 players is different. And also, you can't have a planeswalker as your commander.
Yeah, I like it. And I feel like the Brawl format is like, people have so many threats that need to be crimed on, if that makes any sense. So
but I'm not just stealing from the board. This deck, it is stealing from the graveyard, the hand, the battlefield, and the library. No zone is left untouched. Now, you can even steal from the stack, and I do.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I need to get into that because that's like a level of crime that I had never before considered.
Yes, and it's very important to say that doing crime is not committing a crime. Committing a crime in Magic terms is its own horrible thing where it's just, I targeted your thing. It's a crime. Wrong. No. Doing a crime is taking your opponent's cards. Some cards do both, though, like Laughing Jasper Flint.
Fair. Yeah, this isn't exactly like the Outlaws of Thunder Junction specific type of committing a crime, but just the general vibes. I like it.
But yeah, this deck is a mix of spells that steal, spells that protect my game plan, pure pieces of removal, because Brawl's a pretty cutthroat format. It is not a format where you can relax. It is very similar to Dual Commander, with fewer combos, I would say. But if you have access to counter spells and kill spells and discard spells, using those spells is very important. This is not, unfortunately, a casual format just because Arena only really rewards you for winning. That's what your wins are tied to. They're tied to the daily rewards. And the more you can win, the more likely people are to play a certain type of deck. And also, it's a lot more enjoyable because everybody else is running a ton of removal. So you also have to run a ton of removal to deal with the removal. It's this own weird cycle where everybody's digging themselves in further and further in this arm race. Their trenches are so built up at this point that you can take sometimes like a glass cannon deck in and just get wins if it is resilient to removal.
I love that. I think that's such a fun format though, because the meta is changing so fast and there's like so much scary stuff to do all the time, especially with the extremely powerful like digital only cards that are introduced with each set.
They sometimes rebalance them, but usually they don't. And I don't want to say something too mean about the designers of the cards. Many of them are interesting designs, but they should not be at the power level that they are at. And by printing them at said power level, they cause a lot of heartache and heartbreak for other players.
Gotcha. A totally different type of crime outside of what we're discussing.
Well,
Sweet.
There's a digital-only mechanic, which will come up a lot in this deck, called Heist. Heist is revealing 3 random non-land spells from your opponent's library, and you choose one to put in exile, and you can cast it for any color, which is absurd because it gives you incredible card selection. It's sort of like a Gonti-like ability where you're like looking at a couple cards, but it always hits because it always sees 3 non-lands.
Yeah, the non-lands is pretty wild. So yeah, let's get into that. When it comes to the history of this deck, was it designed on the Heist mechanic or did it start somewhere else first before that?
It predates Heist by years. This deck, I believe I actually had as a standard Brawl deck when Brawl was first introduced in Arena. This was in Amonkhet, so it would have been in the tail end. I'm trying to remember if that was true or not, or if this had come in later when they introduced Historic Brawl. The timeline this is so long ago, I no longer remember it. But Historic Brawl did not exist until a little later, so it may have just been one of the decks I built for Historic Brawl. And at the time, there were only some crime decks, and you had to get kind of, loose about what is a crime. So like I had some cards that would make copies of things, and it's like that's counterfeiting. It counts as doing crime. I'm doing something within the flavor of playing my opponent's deck. But I love the challenge of trying to play with my opponent's cards. And that's part of what makes this deck so fun, is it really does play completely differently against different decks.
And is that one of the reasons why you've had it, like you've been playing it for so many years, is because of that you get like a different experience every game?
Yeah, because like I think I've played this like during my subathon alone for probably like 15 hours.
Wow.
Because you could just sit down and start jamming it. And yeah, you'll get blown out sometimes, but you'll have some really great games of crazy things happen. Sometimes you can even steal your opponent's combos or get tons of their creatures, or just like specifically do something cool that you couldn't expect by combining yours and your opponent's cards.
That's so much fun. Have you ever come up against a similar deck, like trying to steal things from your deck?
Yes, that is what I like to call a custody battle, where we'll oftentimes hand the same cards back and forth, trying to retain, custody over whatever is doing the stealing.
I love that so much. That's so good. When it comes to like the goals that you have while you play this deck, there's the like stealing your opponent's things and trying to piece something together aspect of it. Do you have other goals or like things in mind that you're trying to get to while you're playing?
I want to mess up my opponent's game plan as much as I can. If I can steal like a linchpin card from my opponent's deck, I will. And that's fun. Something
that happens to me all the time in Arena is I just like get roped endlessly when I do something like that. Is that like, how does that, is that something that happens to you with this deck?
I would say that this deck, I have actually had other content creators tell me that this deck is extremely salty because they're commander players, so they're not as used to seeing like how Brawl is. And it's like, yes, this is a very salt-inducing deck, especially when it starts getting ahead, and people will frequently rope me when I'm playing. They will burn out the timer because they don't just not want to play against me. They want to waste as much of my time as possible. And I totally get it. This is not a friendly sit down for a good time deck for both players. This is a deck that's like, yeah, I'm trying to do something that's kind of bad for everyone. I am role playing as the criminal. I'm a criminal mastermind.
Yeah. Well, that's like one of the things I really like about Brawl. Somebody in chat said Brawl is a brutal format, and I think that's like what appeals to me about it. And I just like, if somebody does, like, if I were to play against you playing this deck and you just totally like owned my game plan, I'd be like, okay, cool. And I could just like end it or concede and then hop into another game. Like, that's kind of the thing about Magic Arena, is you can just hop into another game. Like, you can just go next.
A lot of people will also concede on like turn 0, like they just see they're up against Bolas, they'll leave. Or turn 1 because they'll play a mana dork and I'll kill it. Or like turn 2 because they'll play a mana dork and I'll steal it. So yeah, I get it.
That's so silly. Okay, well, maybe the I can go next mentality might be like taken a little too far sometimes in that respect.
I wish people would play out more games. And I don't just mean against this. Sometimes I'll be trying to record a video with a Brawl deck, and people will leave before I can get started. Anytime I would have a kind of good start, even if the rest of my hand was trash, like I had my early ramp or I had my early setup, but then I have nothing else, and they'll have left, so I don't even get to like try to actually play out the rest of the deck. They just leave.
That's so sad too, especially when you have like a cool game plan set up. Like, I want to see if it works.
Sometimes you'll like set up for the combo and you're about to get it to fire. You literally haven't even cast the spell and they leave, and you're like, no, I've been trying to do it for 3 hours, please.
That's so sad. I love the silly little achievements in that game, like cast 150 zombies or whatever it is.
Those are like a pretty recent thing, the achievements.
Yeah.
They introduced some of them this week for Yargle Day, and they are the worst. Should I mention that? Is that okay?
No, yeah, that's great. Yeah. And I've like seen a little bit about the Yargle Day stuff. Will you please like give me a little like an overview of what the situation is?
Yeah. So September 3rd is Yargle Day, 9/3, and for Yargle Day, they made a bunch of quests, most of which can be done in any format, some of which could only be done in Brawl because they require having a Yargle commander. And some of the quests include things like deal 93 damage with Yargle to opponents. And swinging with a 9/3 is hard. Swinging with a 5 mana 9/3 is very hard. Swinging with a 5 mana 9/3 and having it make contact with your opponent is goddamn impossible. The only way this quest got done was from people seeing another person play Yargle and letting them do it. I had people who would give me sassy emotes and concede with my attack going, and right before it would hit, I would do everything to buff up his power, and they would leave before it could connect. It was horrible.
No. I saw something where somebody was like, I found a game where both of our Yargles had lifelink, and so they just traded attacking back and forth, and like, that's what it's all about, not what just happened to you with the conceding.
Yeah, there were also ones like, they had a quest that just said you had to win a game where you only cast vanilla creatures. And, well, that's... So there was actually a hidden part of it. So like you think like, oh, so maybe I only have to cast 1, or maybe I just play a creatureless deck like that Karuga deck from ages ago. No, you had to cast 5 or more vanilla creatures and win the game, and only vanilla creatures.
Oh,
which, yeah, I built like a Voltron deck for it. I did manage to get the win in a Pioneer, but what an annoying quest to try to do. And you would run into lots of people trying to do these quests in Brawl, because there was one that was like, with a Yargle commander, you have to win a game with 0 lands in your library. And there were a couple ways to do this. I chose a Charbelcher deck, but it's very hard to do with no lands and a Yargle commander. And also, some people would do this Doomsday Excruciator combo where you mill both players, so you have no cards in deck. But that requires your opponent to sit through the whole thing.
Yeah.
For you to do it. And as I said before, people will leave.
Yeah, if people are leaving just because you like killed their mana dork on turn 1, then there's the chances of them letting you go through all that are just so low. It's like kind of a hilarious balance, and I do love the camaraderie and the community around these events like Yargle Day. Like, it is very fun to be a part of, but also can be extremely frustrating.
And right now we have, I'll say, some community coming together because of a couple cards recently added into Brawl, but the main one is Strip Mine. Hey guys, they put Strip Mine in Brawl, and we have a lot of commanders that are very good with Strip Mine, like Azusa and Ren and Six, which they added only like 2 weeks after introducing Strip Mine. And my god, the number of like Ren and Six decks that just show up, immediately get it, like tutoring it out of their deck and start recurring it. It's like, can I play Magic the Gathering and not have to deal with it? For reference, Strip Mine is banned in the most similar format, Dual Commander. There's almost nothing banned in Brawl. Anyway, should I start talking about the Brawl deck?
No, yeah. We can definitely, we can go back to that. No, I love it too. I don't get to talk about Brawl super often, so it's really fun. Yeah, so your Nicol Bolas God-Pharaoh deck. What would you say are some of this deck's weaknesses that you kind of have to like deal with when you're playing this deck against people?
There's 2 types of decks that this does really badly against. The first one is decks that are almost all counter spells. Because the way Bolas works, if I manage to land him, I have to steal, and I have to cast the stolen spell on that turn. Which, if I steal a counter spell, what am I supposed to do with that? I've already got my Bolas down. I just sit there. It's like, oh, great. I can't do anything with that. And the other one is decks with just purely bad cards. The worse somebody's deck is, the worse this deck does. Because it's like, oh, you're playing just like cheap, kind of okay statted creatures. Huh. Man, I had to spend like 9 mana to take your 2 mana thing. And it's not very good.
That is funny. Yeah, I feel like at least you're kind of both on an even playing field about now you're both not doing great against each other. So it's a little balanced in that way.
It's really sad because I'll just be like, I can't do anything with your cards. They're just too bad. But that on the opposite side, if you play against somebody who's playing generic value piles, this deck can do super, super well because I don't have to worry as much about mana fixing, casting your spells. Sometimes I can cast the spells for free, and that's just great.
Nice. Yeah, I love that. So I'd love to get into like the notable cards in this deck. You mentioned like a couple heist cards, but yeah, are there any other like standout cards in this deck that you would like to talk about when it comes to like the overall game plan?
Yeah, there's a lot of them, and some of them have very unique crime that you can only do in Arena. There are ways that you could sort of do this in paper, so I'm going to highlight a couple of them. We have cards like Agent of Rafine. This is a 1-mana human rogue that you can pay to tap to steal the top card of your opponent's deck and put it into your hand. You essentially have exiled the card from their deck and made a copy permanently into your own hand, something you could not do in paper, which means you could discard the card, you can cast it, you can do whatever you want with it. You can play it if it's a land, but you are stealing the card from their deck face down. And it's not like going to exile. It can't get like Drannith Magistrated. You just get that card. It's really cool. It's also way too cheap for that activated ability.
Yeah, the way you can just do this every single turn since for turn 1 is pretty wild.
I would say highlight card also in Arena Cube. We also have some cards that can cast for free, like Crabomination. You just kind of throw this down. This is a paper card too. You steal, you get to cast for free, and sometimes you get lucky and you hit the best card in your hand or the best card in their graveyard. So a very funny synergy on one of these cards. So I'm kind of just like going through the list. Displacer Kitten. Displacer Kitten does not go infinite with Nicol Bolas God-Pharaoh, but I mean, it goes infinite with a ham sandwich. If I play Bolas and I +2 him and I hit a non-creature spell that I can cast it blinking Nicol Bolas and stealing again until I hit a non-creature spell, which against decks that have almost no non-creature or have almost no creatures, I could just steal like half their deck.
I can see like the stack in Arena in my mind just filling up with like 40 cards from your opponent's deck after playing this. That's absurd.
It does definitely happen. More of the unique kind of Arena ones, fear of ridicule. You hit your opponent and you make a copy of a random card from their deck. You exile the card from their library. It is a creature and it is a 1/1 copy of it, except now it's an enchantment. You've taken it at random though, and that's nice. The randomness, that's something only you can do, with the computer.
I do think that's one really cool thing about this deck is it's like something that just can't really be replicated in real life, like aside from the cards not existing in real life, but it's like stuff like that, like little things.
You can do like reveal from the top until you hit, but it's way cooler to just be like, no, the card is hit at random. It doesn't change the position of anything. So like if your opponent brainstorms, it doesn't mess that up. You also have some other cards that like steal spells at random, like Rahilda. You have spells that kind of trigger each other, like any rogue will work with Robber of the Rich if you play that in the version. I think I've taken it out at this point, but it's really fun. And of course, there's actually a card in this deck that I revealed. It was from Modern Horizons and Modern Horizons 2, and it's a mistake, and it's Ragavan. Ragavan Nimble Pilfer was a card I revealed, and it was designed for me. It wasn't actually, but like it was.
I mean, it's like this entire strategy in a nutshell, and like I'm sure having that on turn 1 is probably one of the best things you could do here. Like
it
thematically,
causes a lot of people to concede.
Yeah,
you turn one Ragavan and your opponent says, "I'm not dealing with that shit." Bye.
Oof. So like you previewed this card?
Yes.
Amazing.
And I actually drew it live on my stream and had people guess what character I was drawing. And a lot of people figured it out. Like, oh, it's a monkey on a skyboat. It's Ragavan.
I love that. Hell yeah. Nice.
Another really cute digital only card. Do you know Bob or a Dark Confidant?
Yes. Yeah. I love that guy.
All right. So there's a card in Arena called Thought String Analyst. It's a blue and black 2-cost creature. It's a 2/2 that at the start of your opponent's turn, it exiles the top card of your opponent's deck face down, makes a copy in your hand, and you lose life equal to the mana value.
Oh.
Your opponent does not know what you've stolen. They just know the mana value of it based on the life you've lost. It's inverse Bob. You steal from your opponent's deck.
That's so funny. And your opponent just has this like increasing pile of face down cards that they have to figure out what it was. That's so funny.
Yeah, and they usually can't because look, the cards are gone from their deck. I'm making a copy into my hand.
I feel like that's not very common to be stealing stuff, but also they don't get to know what you stole. So it's very, I feel like that's very sneaky, like crime to commit.
Yeah, and I'd say that like one of the things this deck struggles with, I didn't mention before, is bounce decks, because so often they'll be able to like bounce the stolen cards back into their hand. We've all stolen like 30 cards from our opponent and then had them Cyclonic Rift them all back into their hand. That's fine. It's normal.
Yeah, exactly. So out of like all of the cards in this deck that fill the theme and the vibes and the crimes, which one would you say is the MVP, kind of like the one that supports the whole strategy?
I mean, it's got to be the commander. It's Bolas himself. He comes down, he +2s, and even sometimes when like I could stabilize by using the -4, because again, the +1 is literally only if my opponent has hexproof. The +2 is supposed to be the default. I'm supposed to come down, and if there's a way I could steal my way out of the situation, I'm going to do it. If it's like, oh yeah, I have to steal their board wipe, like there's probably one in a deck, I gotta try.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it just like does everything, and all the other cards you have in here do like kind of support that. So yeah, I could see it. I like it.
There's not much crime synergy in these cards. There's things that are like Impetuous Lootmonger makes you tap treasure when you cast a card you don't own. But a lot of the crime synergy cards, a lot of them are actually only available in paper. Ones that like get you mana that you can use for like spells that you've stolen from your opponent or help you cast spells from exile. A lot of those cards don't exist on Arena.
Oh, interesting. They were in those like side products that didn't get put in Arena for some reason.
Yeah, a lot of them were printed in Commander-only products. In fact, almost all of them were. There are a few of them from like Thunder Junction decks. There's some of them from like a Pirates precon, but a lot of them, they just never got added in because they don't usually add commander only cards into Arena.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. Do you have any pet cards that you would like to shout out? Like cards
Laughing Jasper Flint.
Okay.
Easy. Play him as commander. He's awesome. I love him. And Ragavan, of course, deserves the shout out. Scarab God for making zombies from the graveyard. And Grenzo for being so good at crime that he had to be nerfed.
Oh, really? Was it one of the like arena nerf changes?
Yeah, it let you cast a stolen spell for free once a turn, and it stole a card once during each of your turns. So yeah, a little good. Now you can only cast for free if it costs 3 mana value or less.
Okay, that's like pretty significant change to the card.
If there was like one MVP, I'd probably say Ragavan just because he's such a good little monkey. He's so good at crime.
He's incredibly good at crime, so I fully agree with that. I love that. Nice. So do you have like a favorite in-game moment that you've had while you were playing this deck? Something memorable that's happened?
I have had great joy in stealing many people's combos from their deck, whether it's like Bloodletter Aklazots and something that's making my opponent lose half their life, like a Slasher. I've pulled that off. I have taken the combo piece out of a deck, so my opponent who is trying to tutor for it is just stuck searching through their library, like, where is it? I can't find it, but it's exiled face down, and they never will find it because it's mine. There's so many cool things that happen when you're playing this deck, but oftentimes it's just like, I'll be up against another person's very meta deck, their very salty, high-power deck, and I'll beat them, whether it's through control strategy or through crime. And those are all very, very cool.
Ooh, okay. I feel like trying to figure out their win condition so that you can steal it and do it yourself is such a hilarious strategy to me. I love that so much.
Stealing their commander, like that's... I know it feels bad to have your commander stolen, but I'm working hard for that.
Yeah, exactly. So one thing I'm noticing about this deck is you have like an extremely responsible land count at 42 or 43-ish with MDFCs.
I have a 7 mana commander. I need to get to 7 mana.
Well, let me tell you, I have interviewed people about their 7 mana commanders before with like 36 lands in their deck. So when I saw this, I was like, Amy definitely has played this deck a lot. Like it's...
Oh, I know. Like I know that like ideally I'm generating enough value, especially in the command zone, that if I'm just like getting extra lands, cool. That just means playing Bolas again. It's a planeswalker. You run a lot of planeswalker removal in Brawl because you have to, but that just means that if it dies and you have an excess of lands, you play it again, it'll turn and a half or 2 turns later, and ideally you are getting a lot out of it because no matter what, if it resolves, if it's not countered, you get to activate it once, which maybe I just steal a mana rock. Cool. I'm halfway back to casting Bolas again.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. That's how I build my decks too. I'm like, if I just get extra lands, I just cast my commander more easily after it gets killed. So sweets. Okay, so I have one last question for you. If anyone out there is like interested in building this deck in Brawl on Arena, like they're excited by the idea of stealing their opponent's cards to play against them, what advice would you give to those people who want to build this deck?
Make sure to protect your game plan. Put some counter spells in there. It'll help. And remember, mana drain is also a crime. Until they ban it from the format, which my God, I really hope they do, you should play it because stealing your opponent's mana is also stealing some of their game.
No, I'm convinced. I'm literally like logging into MTGA right now. So
yeah, I will not recommend like building this deck though if you are a newer player because it is almost entirely rares. Stealing spells tend to be rare. The mana base is horrendously like high cost. I would say start with a 2-color crime deck, whether that's Xanathar or maybe Scarab God or even Laughing Jasper Flint, who like I run in Brawl as well. That's a great card to have as your commander.
Yeah, I played against Laughing Jasper Flint decks on Brawl, and that one's super fun. So yeah, I like that. That's good advice to start with a deck like that and kind of work your colors outward. Sweet. Well, that's all the questions I had. Amy, did you have anything else that you wanted to talk about when it comes to your what was the title of this deck again? Please remind me.
This is Petty Theft.
Petty Theft.
I'll say sometimes in a format that's as cutthroat as Brawl, you can make a theme and stick to it. The theme just has to be a nasty one.
I like that. Yeah, it's true. But Brawl is so much fun. Like, I do think anyone out there who likes playing Commander and wants to play it a little bit like something like that more on your own time, and also a little bit more cutthroat, I do think Brawl is like a fantastic format to play in. It's super fun. I like it.
It's also a format where like you don't have to arrange a play date. And also if your opponent is a stinky nerd, you can't smell them. Oh,
that's so true.
It's so nice. I've never had to smell my opponent when I'm playing Arena.
Never, not once. I actually had not thought about
it. Isn't that nice?
That's huge. Yeah. Okay. Well, if Brawl needed, if Arena needed some kind of sponsor, there's the benefit. Well, Amy, thank you so much for letting me hop in and interrupt your stream for a little bit to interview you about one of your favorite Brawl decks. I really appreciate it, and I had a good time.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. If people want to find my various deck lists, they can find them, by the way, on YouTube. I have a series called Brawl Stars. We mentioned it before. And as I said, there are over 500 decks in that. So you can go look at them, find a commander you like, and say, wow, Amy, you sure did build something here. I sure did. I will say that this Bolas deck has been with me for a long time, and I do plan on always updating it whenever I can. It pretty much gets updated with every set, even if it's just the mana base. So if you stop by my channel, you might see me playing it, and that's over on Twitch, twitch.tv/Amazonian.
Awesome, and I will have links to all of those things in the episode description, so definitely go check those out, and go follow Amy on Twitch. As we wrap up the episode, I always shout out all of my patrons at the All That Glitters patron level. So Jeff, thank you so much for being a patron. I really appreciate it. And thank you everyone else for listening. I really appreciate that too. We will catch you on the next episode. Bye.